The biggest iron flop in TaylorMade's history just got a new makeover. But have they overcorrected on their previous mistakes? More importantly, if you don't want to spend $1,400 on the new CBs, is this $300 option just as good? We got 2 new releases from TaylorMade this week, which is always exciting for myself, as older models then become somewhat cheaper in the second-hand market, especially when it comes to covering these in a minute. However, when I first saw them side by side, especially when you look at the lineup that they give you on the website, alarm bells did start to ring to think that did they overcorrect the mistake that they made back in 2017, 2018? But before we get into all of that, it is a poetic coupling of those 2 irons side by side, especially as the P770 had the same identity crisis as well, the predecessor of what the P7CB is actually looking to replace. And to be fair to TaylorMade, they have a secret weapon in their arsenal when it comes to marketing and basically getting clubs off the shelf. And you can't blame them. You have a winning recipe that the market wants. The most sold iron ever is the P790. And to be honest, that does come a lot down to fitting a massive proportion of golfers on the planet. You want more distance? P790. You want more forgiveness? P790. You want a massive flyer out the rough? P790. And I'd be a hypocrite if I said that I wouldn't do the same, because as soon as I find a title, a theme, a thumbnail that does well on the channel, you best believe I'm going to keep making those style videos until I'm beating a dead horse. However, TaylorMade are innovative and they are changing the look of the lineup, which I definitely want to cover in a bit. But before I cover that potential overcorrection, the only downside of P790s and P770s, because I love fitting for these irons secondhand, and you have to give it to TaylorMade in the sense that a vast majority of the public not only want these brand new, but they also want them secondhand. And £600 for a set of clubs that are almost 4 years old is ludicrous, but there is a bonus and a downside to that. If you've got the cash flow to spare, these clubs will be still sought after, meaning you get a great club, especially these P770s. Great for that low handicapper that wants more forgiveness. Great for that mid to high handicapper that swings incredibly fast and doesn't want to hit their 7-iron 190 yards. Great for that player that's experimenting and just wants something so aesthetically pleasing that the entire globe is willing to spend this kind of money on a set of clubs this old. The massive upside of second-hand clubs with such demand is that you can sell them so easily. So yes, £600 for a set of these, 4 years old, a lot of money. However, selling them in a year, 2 years' time for £500, it's not necessarily that much money lost, is it? The fascinating thing I find with this new lineup of the P series is that it's the complete opposite of one of the reasons why none of you will remember the iron I'm going to compare the P7CB to. I mean, you go on the TaylorMade website and you look at the P series lineup there now, it's not only do they look like 5 different irons, they look like 5 different brands. And from everything that I've read about the 2 new releases is the ability to merge them as a combo set. It makes sense, they're very similar lofts, and with the P770 being that touch more forgiving, and then the P7CB having those higher, truer lofted specs at the bottom end of the bag, on a spec sheet, it makes complete sense. However, one of the best to do combo sets personally in my eyes is Mizuno, and if you look at their JPX range or their Mizuno Pro range, is that each head comes down in loft, more offset, less offset, whatever it might be, and you could have 3 of these different iron heads in your bag if you so chose, but none of them would actually look out of place. And the reason that I say overcorrection is that this iron here slotted in between these 2 back in 2018 when they were released. And obviously my very quick and simple test at the end probably outlines a much bigger problem that we have in golf club manufacturing altogether. But back in 2017, we had the P770, which looked absolutely nothing like the P790, which obviously was hugely popular, and you can tell why that went off that tangent, but looked virtually identical identical to the P750, which we could probably say nowadays, if we compared lofts and offset and everything else, would be the new P7MC iron. And that's why I said I had to do a bit of digging, because in the lineup on TaylorMade's website, the P7MC isn't even included on that list, and I have no idea why, if it's going to be revamped next year, which is a possibility as it came out in 2023. But the problem is, back in 2018, definitely need something more offset than this. You had identical twins, and then the one that was, well, breaking records in terms of sales. So no wonder this thing that was just thrown in there like a sore thumb, no one would actually remember seeing. And obviously I want to highlight the problem with golf club manufacturing in my test in a minute, but I want to show you some prices of the P760 second hand, and one of the clubs I do fit for a lot just because it's such great value. £300, £350. At auction, these things go for absolutely nothing, and that's because, well, they just didn't really hit a mark in terms of, well, anything. And that's not to say these aren't good irons, because they really are. It's more of a question, who really can tell the difference between, well, all of these? Now, before I prove my point in my test, here's the P760 on the left and then the P770 on the right. And that's all iron sets do when they get smaller, because what makes a player's iron is not have it as offset on the left and have that thinner top line, so it looks like a player's iron. And as I'll show you TaylorMade's graph here, it carefully explains what you're getting from different irons. And the P790 versus, let's be honest, the P7MB, you guys would even be able to tell the difference. And to be honest, I don't really care that these have got different shafts in them. Yes, they're both stiff flex, and yes, they're both the same length. But the point that I'm trying to make is the fact that these are very similar. And when you cut down the pool of players that actually be looking to buy these, hence why I think the P760 failed when it did come out, is that you had two incredibly similar options already out. The P750, 1 degree higher in loft, slightly less offset. The P770, same loft, but less offset, less forgiving, you name it. But for the average golfer that is playing once a week at best, I just looked back and I thought it hadn't even recognized it. It's funny how irons with the exact same loft finish on top of each other in terms of distance. My character pushed there, however. There is absolutely no chance I would be able to hit 2 shots exactly the same ever again. I mean, tell me that's not the exact same iron, just to show that I swung them very similar to each other as well. It is why I love second-hand equipment, because this came out in 2018, this came out in 2020. This is £600 for a set of irons. This is around £300. And I'm sure if you whack these in a robot, there would be differences between the two. But funny enough, none of us are robots that play this game. The irony is that if the P770 didn't have that magic TaylorMade makeover into a P790 lookalike back in 2020, I'm pretty sure it'd be the same value as this P760 that I have in my hand right here. Guys, if you have any questions on your golf game or golf bag, sasgolfacademy.com. Catch you guys later.